I've been tasked with chairing this what promises to be a very interesting discussion for today. So I'm Shingai Ziki. I'm based in Harare. I'm not sure what the best way to do is. Perhaps we could just check on everyone and everyone can introduce themselves so we know who is on the call. Please feel free, anyone, to unmute and tell us who you are. Just 1 minute each.
Hello, I'm Dr. Kedres Triagenda. I'm the Director of Education Standards at the Ministry of Education and Sports.
Thank you, Dr. Kedres. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I am Abe Mubiru. I am a head teacher, the head teacher of Kadugala Secondary School in the new city of Masaka. And I'm a British Council facilitator. It's a pleasure to be on this call.
Welcome, Mr. Mubiri. Thank you very much. Please go ahead. Those who have not introduced themselves. Alfred, would you like to go?
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
And you are live.
Hello. Yes, I'm Alfred Okello. I'm head teacher of Palliser Secondary School in the eastern part of the country. And
okay, it looks like we've lost Alfred there. I'm sure we will have connectivity issues here and there, but let's try and press on and hope it will resolve as we continue. Is there anyone else on the call who has not introduced themselves?
Stable. So I was saying I'm a facilitator of Connecting Classrooms program of the British Council. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. As you may have been notified already, today our issue of discussion or topic of discussion is about wellness. This is one of the first in a series of discussions like this, where we will be talking about teaching and learning and the shift that is happening and what it actually means for our school leaders. I'm sure the school leaders on the call will agree with me that the whole COVID-19 pandemic has brought a lot of new things and approaches to education. And I'm really sure it has not been easy, as the way we lead has had to change or has had to shift. Head teachers carry quite a big responsibility in the schools to keep education, both teaching and learning going. So I'm looking forward to the discussion this morning, which is focused on wellness. We will look at continuous professional development. We'll look at motivating teachers, methodology, as well as managing change in future series. So we have on the call, as you have heard earlier on, Dr. Kedris, who talked to us about the reality and overview of the education in the current and future contexts. We will also have Dr. Kedris touch on professional wellness as well. Mr. Mubiru will touch on Dr. Kendris will touch on professional wellness, while Mr. Abi Muiru will speak on personal wellness, and Alfred Okello will speak on social wellness. At the end of the session, we'll have 10 minutes for a question and answer session. So each speaker will have 5 minutes to share with us, and we'll do the question and answer session at the end. So please do take note of any key points of discussion that you would want us to take on at the end. So I would like to hand over to Dr. Kedris for the overview of education currently and future context, as well as professional wellness. Over to you, Dr. Kendris.
Thank you very much, morning colleagues. I'm glad to be on this call this morning. First of all, I would like to thank British Council for putting this together and for over the years working with the Ministry of Education and Sports to see how to improve the quality of teaching and learning in our schools and consequently the learning outcomes of our children at the secondary level. British Council, we appreciate. Yes, I'm quickly going to share on the reality. And really, it's an overview, and I'm glad all of us are educationists and senior ones, and so we understand what our system is like. Before the structured learning took place, we had our own African way of learning, where skills and knowledge and attitudes and were imparted on young people as they continued on with their daily work. It was an active, progressive, elder-led kind of education, and it happened across in the gardens, in the grazing field, at the fireplace, and people were learning and progressing. However, when we introduced the structured classroom-based, school-based education system, a number of things happened. We had to gather children in one place from different homes. We had to bring them together to learn a prescribed curriculum and go through a prescribed assessment system. And this has had its own good things, but also its own challenges. So the learning is expected to happen in the four walls of a classroom with someone labeled a teacher, and he delivers a certain material in the curriculum that has also been determined. Does this give us the best learning outcomes? That is something for us to discuss as we move along as leaders and managers of education. Now, as a sector, as you all know, our commitment is found in our vision, and that is quality education and sports for all. This vision is the basis, is the driver for our mass education programs under universal primary, universal secondary, and universal post-primary education and training. And because it's the driver, our focus is on the learner. It's that learner we desire to have quality education. Because as a sector in education, we believe that every child matters, every one of them, and we believe that every child can achieve. And so we give them opportunity to come to school and achieve this. Now, if this child is to achieve his maximum potential, then this child has to be learning in a conducive learning environment. And this is an environment where this child is known, where his child is appreciated, supported, fed, encouraged, and loved, both at home and at school. The head teacher seems to be in the center of both. Apart from managing and leading the school, he is the liaison officer between this child and the home and the community. And so the core role of the head teacher in ensuring that our vision as a sector is achieved is very handy, and that this child learns the whole curriculum and is developed mentally, the cognitive development is developed in his life, in his heart, through the affective development, trained in values and attitudes, but also developed in skills. And now, as you know, the skills are divided into two. We have the soft skills, communication, collaboration, and others. All of you are part and parcel of this, I know, in 21st century skills, but also the hard skills. Is this child having the competence of producing anything, even a meal for himself or herself when he is at home alone? So the school environment is supposed to help us currently let this child develop those three core skills, the skills of the cognitive skills, affective skills, but also the social the psychomotor skills. Now, I'm aware that for some time now, especially in Uganda, our education system has been driven by examinations, and people look at results on paper, but not the outcome of the individual that has come through the system. That is not helpful at all, because that would not contribute to our vision 2040, where our country is supposed to be transformed from the current peasantry to the modern and prosperous. You cannot transform a country unless the learners through the system come out with skills that would cause that transformation to happen. So what do we see in terms of education for the future context? We cannot now predict the future that our young people whom we are training will live through. The world is changing too rapidly. This 21st century is characterized by the rapid changes that are driven by science, information, communication, and technology. If you just think a little bit of about 20 years ago, you and I who are on this call, think about the technological and the social changes that have happened in the last 20 years. For example, 20 years ago, very few of us had mobile phones. Maybe none of us had ever used mobile money to transact business, and many other socio-economic changes that have happened. These changes are not going back. We cannot move backwards. We cannot stay stationary. We can only move forward, or else we'll be left behind or will be swept by the flood. So in this rapidly changing context, we need to give our young people flexible skills which can be applied to whatever problem they may face in future. This will enable them to adapt, to manage, and to flourish in every circumstance in which they find themselves. COVID-19 has shown us that we can no longer do things as usual. The teaching learning process, the leadership and management of schools has to change to fit in what we now call the new normal. To manage social distancing, to manage the kind of expected standards under the SOPs, under COVID, is something I'm hoping that all head teachers are cracking their heads and thinking, if I had a school of 4,000 children, how will I run this school with a distance of 2 meters one from another? So moving forward, every school need to budget for and train their teachers on how to do things differently. How to do things differently. How do I teach differently using a shorter time but still cover what was in the syllabus to prepare these learners for the end of cycle examinations? How do we leverage on the e-methodologies and the e-systems that are now with us moving forward? Because we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which is driven by ICT. How do we, Alfred, with your school, wherever it is found, ensure that the children there also are able to learn even when they cannot gather at school, as was the case? So the future of our learners is bright, because while you and I are labeled IT migrants, our children and the young people we have in our schools are called IT natives. So can we start thinking differently on what we do and how we do it, so that we achieve more now moving forward than we did in the past? So as I conclude on this, I know my minutes are done. I would like you to think through these four questions. Can every learner in my school achieve the best they can under the present way we are doing things? Can every learner achieve the best in the present system, in the way we've been doing it? If not, what needs to change? How do we change it? Me as a head teacher, what do I need to change? And whom will I need to help me move forward and realize the change I want to make? I can assure you that the future is brighter, but we have to rethink what we do. We have to unlearn some of the things we learned and then relearn new things as we progress into the future. Thank you very much for listening to this first part of our sharing this morning.
Thank you very much, Kendris. You have touched on a lot of interesting issues, a lot of questions for head teachers. I'm sure not only just in the region or in Uganda, but internationally as well. You've touched on a number of important points which have to do with quality teaching and learning for the benefit of the students to ensure the best knowledge outcomes for our students. You touched on structured school-based education, which is currently challenged. You also touched on the issue of including all children, quality education and sports for all children, which raises a lot of questions as well in terms of accessibility to education, particularly in this season. Are all children able to continue with education while schools are temporarily closed? And also, what role can the head teacher and the teacher play in this season? From your presentation also, we see the very important role of the head teacher as the one who carries the vision and ensures that the vision, the overall vision for education in Uganda is actually achieved. We have a lot of points of discussion, particularly also looking at the type of support that is being given to head teachers in this season. You've mentioned that, the change is actually very rapid, change concerning, areas to do with science, information, and technology, and so forth. So at this point, I would just like to give one participant just 2 minutes to give us their feedback. I think it would be great to hear from one of the head teachers. Just 2 minutes before we move to Dr. Kendris' next presentation. Thank you. Alfred or Mr. Mubiru, as head teachers, do you have any feedback on that?
Yes, thank you very much, Shingi. Just a very, very brief and quick one. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Kedres for that very elaborate presentation in a very short time. I would like to agree with Doctor that the situation we are in is quite challenging and demands that the school leaders change. First of all, their perception, the way they look at things, the way they do things. And then secondly, as school leaders, we also need to change our practices. Previously, before COVID-19, there were a lot of things that we would take for granted. I'll just give one example. Despite the fact that there's been emphasis on use of IT in teaching and learning, many of us as school leaders, had been kind of taking it for granted. But now, with the coming in of this very difficult situation, the COVID-19 pandemic, we have begun to see that IT, or integration of IT, is actually an imperative, is something which is not an option, but is essential, is something that we have got to go with if our teaching and learning have got to be effective. So that is one thing out of the many which we had been taking for granted, which now we've got to handle very, very seriously. Secondly, and lastly, because just a brief comment, we also, in the past, had, in some cases, been, not addressing the issues of basic hygiene to the depth it deserved. Yes, it's true that we would emphasize to the learners and to the staff that being clean and being neat is important, but sometimes we wouldn't go to the details. But now, as a result of the new situation we found ourselves in, we find that we've got to take very seriously the basic hygiene. Just take a very simple case, the washing of hands. How many times would one wash his or her hands in a day? Perhaps twice or three times. But now we are washing our hands after every 10 or 15 minutes. So this is one fundamental change that this pandemic has brought about, which we are hoping should be able to continue even after the COVID-19 pandemic. I know as head teachers, these come along with challenges, but we've got to strive as much as possible to ensure that we fit into the situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfred Okello, for that contribution. The key message from you being that the integration of...
Over to you, Shinge.
Can you hear me? Thank you very much for your contribution, Alfred. I think the key issue that you have mentioned there is the issue of integration of IT in education. It's a very important issue, as well as the issue of hygiene in schools. Thank you very much for that contribution. I would like now to invite Dr. Kendris back again to touch on professional wellness for head teachers in this season. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shingi, and thank you, Alfred, for that great contribution to what I shared before. Now, the whole concept of wellness is something that we can spend a few of the sessions next time talking about, because wellness is not an external thing. Wellness is an internal, a human, a greater soul kind of aspect. So professional wellness requires us to consider our profession. Our profession in Uganda is guided by the standards which are clear in the teacher professional code of conduct. And you know that in that those standards, we have the standards for the teachers, but we also have the standards for the head teachers. And those standards are divided into two main components. We have the standards of competence. Who should be a teacher in terms of competence? What kind of qualification should he have? What kind of things should he have around him, the registration and whatever that makes him a teacher? But we also have the behavioral bit of our profession, which spells out, as a teacher now, a professional, one who has been trained for a long time with specified training in what in your school of education you call professional courses. Someone who has skills in sociology and is able to handle human beings. someone who has skills in management and is able to manage whether a class or a dormitory or a school as a head teacher, someone who has been trained in child development and psychology and is able to discern that this young person at this age is behaving like this. It's not because he or she is stubborn, it's because of the age he's going through. All these things we learned in our professional courses at the university were really supposed to help us be the professionals we are as educators. So we need to go back to them. We need to go back to them and see, how do they apply to me now? How do I pick these values? How do I pick these standards and consider them from a positive perspective? Because wellness really comes from our own attitudes. If you think you are weak, you are sick, you are unable, those are the results we shall get. If you think for you, you are in a USE and the children who come in there come with very high or low marks, whatever you'd want to use as a term, and the parents do not have money, if that is your thinking, if that is your mindset, that is exactly what you will get. That's what exactly you'll get. You'll keep knowing, I can't do anything, I have no money, I have no nothing. So our professional wellness as head teachers will depend on our mindset. How do we look at things? When you look at a glass that has halfway water, do you see it as half full or half empty? Depending on how you see it, that is what will determine your next move. So I think as school leaders who have the vision of what we want our schools to be, who have the vision of wanting every learner who enters our school to be healthy, to be safe, but also to progress academically and to be all round, to have all the skills I talked about at the beginning. Again, it goes back to us. We have to change our mindset and start looking at things from the perspective of, I qualify to be a head teacher, that's why I'm here. And therefore, I have the capacity to think, I have the capacity to strategize, I have the capacity to coordinate with others, I have the capacity to learn from other people and pick from them lessons that can enable me progress. So I think our wellness as leaders, as head teachers, starts from us, and we can definitely get where we want to be if we choose to get there. It's a choice that we have to make. But also now to try and infuse that into our staff, because we can't do this work alone. If we are to have the team on board with us, then our vision has to be clear of what we want to be. Our practices have to be open and participatory, and we have to take the lead and show the positivity into which we are going to do things. So again, as I said, it would take another big session, but for now, professional wellness comes from understanding and appreciating our profession as a calling to lift every young person who comes into our mind, and looking at things from the positive perspective and being a solution finder and not a problem user. I think I'll stop here for now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kendris, for that interesting contribution. You've touched on going back to the foundational learning for head teachers that, head teachers learned in university or in schools. You've talked about skills that have to do with psychological issues as well. You've talked about wellness as not just an external thing, but an internal thing. One of the key issues being the mindset, the perspective of the head teacher, particularly in this season, as well as having that professional confidence. You touched on professional confidence, that the head teacher should be able to say, I can do this, I have what it takes, as they are responsible for leading the whole school, for leading teachers, helping in motivating teachers, and bringing the vision for education in their schools to be achieved. Thank you very much for that contribution. And I would just like to invite, perhaps at this time, Mr. Abi Mubiru to just maybe give us his response to that presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shinyi. Thank you, Dr. Kedres, for that very good submission. I actually acknowledge the fact that if any school leader or head teacher has to be professionally well, the time is now. Because there is a lot to manage, there is a lot to handle, there is a lot to draw from the theoretical courses that we took in colleges and universities to be able to transit from what has been to what is now. Because this is the time that you have to keep yourself relevant. The mindset of change, to be able to pick on new things and to be able to continue to be the leader that we expect you to be, really calls for a lot of input. Like Dr. Kedres said, this could take lots of time to explore, but the message is all school leaders have got to keep themselves afloat professionally in order to meet the challenges of the day. Thank you, Shinji.
Thank you, Mr. Mobiro. We at the British Council do recognize that importance. So we do. That's why we offer a lot of extra support and professional development courses for head teachers. It's not for every area. You know, we have courses that have to do with the softer skills that Dr. Kendris was talking about. We do know that head teachers tend to be very busy as administrators in the school. They carry the weight of ensuring, as we mentioned before, that the vision of the school is achieved. And so we want to move on now to look at the personal aspect of it. We've talked about the importance of the professional wellness, and there are things that the Ministry of Education is doing in Uganda to support head teachers and other organizations as well. How about that professional wellness? How is it going for head teachers in this season? We are really interested to hear from you how you are keeping that balance. So I would like to invite Mr. Abi Mobiro to share with us his perspective or his experience. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Mobiro.
Thank you, moderator. And thank you everybody who is on the call. It's a pleasure to be here to be able to make a contribution to this. First and foremost, we would like to acknowledge the fact that we are in a situation that is not very usual. Exactly 104 days ago, the schools were closed. And when these schools were closed, it wasn't something that was planned. It just came up. And when it came up, it must, and it did actually affect our wellness as persons. So for the school leader, we would like to acknowledge the fact that indeed, having been put off our usual routine, our usual work, must have affected us in our personal capacities. So these are not ordinary times. So this is the reality. So what do we do? So when you wake up in the morning and you know you are not going to do what you have been doing as a routine for the past very many years, some of us decades actually, it can be quite disturbing. We acknowledge that this one can get to you and can affect your health and your wellness. It is also scientifically proved that having a routine actually is very good for your health. because as you get into some pressure of some sort, then what you have to do comes in and takes you off that. But if you don't have any routine, like we are put off our routine like that, then we are likely to get issues with our personal wellness. So when we are rudely and abruptly interrupted by COVID-19, lots of things must have happened to us. One, the term was just beginning, and we are used to working with the teachers, in the school environment. And all of a sudden, you find yourself having to spend all the time at home. Now, this can be disturbing, and I know it can lead to stress, bad stress, so to say. Now, what do we need to do? To make matters worse, we don't know, like in Uganda, as we stand now, it is open-ended. We don't know when schools will open. Because the last time we were addressed, we are told, let us wait. So for how long are we going to wait? So all these things that are coming up can really lead to anxiety. And anxiety, as you all know, affects our health. The anticipation of bad times, the anticipation of difficulty in such situations, it can also adversely affect our health personally. And once the health of the school leader is affected by anything, that is indeed bad news. It is a disaster. Because remember, we are the leaders. We have to be well. We have to give hope to the people that we lead, the teachers, the students, the parents, the system itself. So it can be bad news. Now, what do we want to see? We don't want this bad news to prevail. The good news is that the capacity to manage the situation is actually in our hands. So a few tips. What we need to do is to get to terms with the situation. Because if you don't accept the situation the way it is, and you live in what should have been, what I should have had, then you are likely to get into lots of strains. So once we accept the situation the way it is, and we understand it, then we need to establish a new routine. We are talking about new normal, new normal, new normal. So what is the new normal of the school leader? Establish a routine. Because even when you're at home, you can establish a routine that keeps you going. You know, every morning when I wake up, I'll do this one, I'll do the other, I'll do some online reading, I'll get in touch with colleagues, so that your health as a person, your personal well-being is nourished. Remember, Dr. Kedre said, wellness comes from inside. So you need to nourish it. Now, we also need to ensure good health. Good health in terms of the medical understanding of good health. This is the time when everything that comes to a form of sickness or whatever it is must be taken care of. We also need to ensure social health. Remember, we are living with the people now whom we are not accustomed to living this long. You've had lots of domestic violence, people fighting in the homes. Why? Because they are in a new normal. Their social surroundings have changed, and probably they have failed to adjust. And also, our mental wellness has to be taken care of. Now, as I go towards the end with my submission, remember to exercise. Exercise. You must keep physically fit. It can be stress, the stress that comes with the, I don't want to call it redundancy, but too much time on our hands can lead to overweight, can lead to all sorts of things. So please, let's keep fit, let's exercise. Let's keep connected to friends, connected to colleagues, connected to family, the family members that are far away. Let us invest in a little bit of airtime and ensure that we keep connected, we keep in touch. That will nourish our personal wellness. Remember, you are still the father, the mother, the head teacher, the school leader, and above all, our principal teacher. So we shall have to come back to you at the end of COVID. We should find you sound. We don't want to find you having dropped off the rails. Feel good knowing that every storm weathers. And remember, please pray. Keep praying. Thank you, Shingi, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mubiru,
everybody.
for those encouraging words. You know, as you've rightfully said, there's been a lot of anxiety, and you have encouraged our head teachers to remain connected, not only to colleagues, but to family, to friends. We know that as human beings, we thrive when we are connected. This situation is separating us, but we can still keep connected through phones and other platforms. We are running out of time, so I'll quickly invite Alfred Okello again to talk about social wellness. I hope we'll be able to get time to take a few questions or do a question and answer at the end. But at this time, over to you, Alfred, speaking on social wellness.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Shingi. Thank you, Dr. Kedres. Thank you, Abby, for the elaborate presentation that you've made. I will continue from where the doctor and Abby have stopped. We're looking at the social wellness. We are all aware that a school leader does not live in isolation. A school leader lives with the rest of the people with whom he or she works and interacts. And therefore, just like it should be in the interest of a school leader to ensure that he or she is healthy, just like he or she should take care of the well-being, you should also facilitate the well-being of the people with whom he or she works and interacts. So what am I referring to here? We know that as a school leader, we work with the key stakeholders of a school. These are different categories of people. We have the staff, which includes the teaching and the non-teaching staff, the learners, the parents, the BOG, members of the foundation body, government at both local and central levels, and indeed the entire community. These are the stakeholders who interact directly with the school leaders. And therefore, it is the role of the school leader to ensure that if everything is to go on well in school, the wellness or the well-being of these people is also taken care of. So how does this come about? This definitely comes about in the kind of leadership that the school leader executes, the style of leadership the school leader executes. We are aware that because of COVID-19 pandemic, we all have different frames of mind, different mindset. Our feelings have all of a sudden changed. And I'm talking about the feelings of the school leaders and all the people with whom he or she interacts. The temperament has changed. The mood has changed. The spirits have changed. All these things have changed, and therefore, we want to look at how the school leader comes in to ensure that the well being and the wellness of these people are also catered for, because all these have impact on the performance of the school. So, what therefore is going to be the new role of the school leader? The new role of the school leader is to ensure that, notwithstanding the challenges due to COVID-19, things move on very well, and that can only be achieved when the wellness of these people is taken care of. For example, we are looking at the staff. How does a school leader ensure that the staff, the teachers, for example, at this material time, when I imagine they are scattered all over. Some of them are at school because maybe they live in staff houses at school. Others are in their villages. Others are elsewhere. So the teachers are scattered. The non-teaching staff members are scattered. So it's important that the school leader makes connection with the staff. The school leader should communicate constantly with the members of staff so that they continue feeling that they're actually part of the school. We wouldn't want a situation where the staff members, that's the teachers and the non-teaching staff, feel that education has ended. The school is no longer there. That would send a very wrong signal. So our task as school leaders is to ensure that we are in touch with all these staff members we work with, and we give them confidence. We've got to support them in all ways possible. Uh, Recently, we've been having a discussion about payment of salaries, for example, to the workers. It's a challenge. Definitely, we appreciate the fact that uh, we don't have money coming from the parents in form of fees. But as a school leader, there's still something that you can do about it. If there is some little money that you have, there is a way you can utilize that to ensure that your staff members are living fairly well. If there is something you can give in kind to the staff, please, you do that so that you take care of the well being of these people. But above all, what is important is to give them confidence, to keep encouraging them so that they're optimistic that things are going to be okay. Let them have hope. Let them have hope that schools are going to reopen and things are going to be okay. But even at the same time, even before schools have opened, let them have hope that things are okay and they should continue doing their work. So the teachers should be encouraged to continue upgrading themselves. They should continue learning. They should continue reading. There are lots of materials which are online now. One of the ways we can take care of their well being is to encourage them to learn new things. We are talking about technology. There are lots and lots of opportunities now. Let's encourage them to learn new technology. All this will make them feel better and, in the end, even be more competent than ever before. Resilience should be there. We should also encourage our teachers to take time and visit the parents, relate with the parents, connect with the parents. All this would contribute to their wellness, would make them relaxed. It would not, stress them per se. So these are some of the things that as school leaders we can do to our staff members. Let's ensure that they feel safe, they feel that they're part of the school, and they continue doing their work as much as possible. What about the learners? The learners are all at home now. How do we ensure their wellness? As I said earlier on, as school leaders, we should be in touch with our learners. We can be in touch with them through their parents. We should also encourage the teachers to be in touch with these learners while they're at home. We should encourage these learners that they don't give up life. These are young people who can very easily give up and say, I think the world has come to the end. I have no business now to do with learning. We shouldn't allow that to happen. Let's encourage them through their parents. Let's support them. Let's visit them and we talk to them. If there is anything academic, let's assist them in the various subjects. I am happy that our ministry is coming up with a very good program. Already we've had materials distributed. We've got TVs and radios being utilized to ensure that learning continues. So we can take advantage of this as school leaders. Let's impress upon the teachers that it's their role to now ensure that all these things work well so that our learners continue to learn while they are at home. What about the parents themselves? The parents need a lot of support. They have to be supported as well. They need psychosocial support. Many of them are stressed. They are thinking about the future of their children. So we need to be close to them. Let's give them calls. Let's WhatsApp them. Let's talk to them. Let's go to their homes and talk to them so that we encourage them and they have hope and resilience so that they support the children who are with them to study. We have the challenge of child abuse in our homes and in the community. So this is one thing that we need to be sharing with the parents and the children themselves. Let's see the best way to ensure that these children are protected while they're at home so that they're safe and they can learn. And because of that, as leaders, we need to make it clear to the parents that it's their responsibility, and where possible, let's go ahead and guide them on what to do so that the children can be safe to learn. We've got the members of the board of governors. These are also our stakeholders. We need to keep in touch with them so that they feel good that our schools are on. There's no problem. So as a leader, it's important we're in touch with the board of governors. We are in touch with the foundation body. If there is any information to share, let's be able to share with them. So let's open channels for communication between us and the boards and the foundation body, so that everyone has confidence that things are okay and things will improve. Finally, what about the community? The community looks onto us, the school leaders and teachers, as opinion leaders. They look to us as the guide. So we should do everything to confirm that. So where possible, let's find time and we go out and guide the community. We are talking about some of the new practices due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the practices of social distancing. As leaders, we have authority to ensure the community follows this. What about the hygiene that I talked of earlier on in my submission? That's very, very important. What about styles, living styles, lifestyles? What about lifestyle? Dieting. What kind of food do people eat? Water, for example. I was talking to some parents here, and I was encouraging them that water alone, water is very critical for life, because a number of them think water is not important. So they should be drinking water constantly. That is part of dieting. See, that's very, very important. So their lifestyle, doing exercises, physical exercises, all this as school leaders, we should be able to share with the community so that we have the quality of life in the community improving. And this would go a long way to actually improving the society, and will have a very big impact on learning of our children. I think for now, I would like to end there, but I would like to conclusively say that as school leaders, we have a very big role in ensuring wellness of virtually everyone in the community. I thank you. I thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alfred Okello, for that comprehensive view on social wellness and the community as well. The head teacher is the glue between the school and other stakeholders. And you've touched on the various stakeholders, talked on the issue, the importance of resilience, of upgrading, making sure that the children are safe, the teachers are safe, connecting with the parents as well, particularly in this time, and just keeping everybody's morale high. Thank you very much to all those who have joined us. We are seeing your comments, a lot of comments. Thank you very much, Matanga Peter, who is saying that from now on, he will go for every professional development opportunity that he can get because he now realizes the importance of that. We've also got Joseph Muringami bringing in his comments as well, that we should stop dodging professional development as school leaders. Beatrice is concerned about the situation and the gap that it has brought between the urban and rural children. So I would just ask you, as you listen to these comments, to the panelists, to choose one that you can possibly comment on. I think the one about the rural and urban divide is quite an important one. Dina Grace says, yes, head teachers need to include some muscle activating routines to keep healthy and to keep fit. So maybe from some of the comments that I've mentioned, would you like to touch on some of them? Dr. Kendrens, the urban and rural divide issue. Would you have any comment on that? Hello, Dr. Kendrens, please unmute yourself. You're still on mute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, we can hear
Three
you.
quick comments on the two presentations. I thank my brothers for the good presentations they've made, very practical. Just 3 points of emphasis. One, that as school leaders, you are community leaders. You are community leaders, and Alfred brought it out very well. So think to yourself, as a community leader in this time of lockdown, what should be my contribution? The second one is regarding looking at the situation again from a positive perspective. What are the opportunities that the shutdown or lockdown and the closure of schools have brought to you as an individual, as a head teacher, as a father or mother, as whatever? Look for those opportunities. Have they now given you time to read a course on school management? Have you now found time to study a bit more deeply on issues that you didn't have time to in your routine? Have you found more time to reflect on your practice, to see what was working and what was not, and therefore how you can improve it moving forward? So look at the opportunities that this lockdown has created so that you can maximize those opportunities as you plan for the school reopening. The last one is about the stakeholders, and I'll just say one word. Can we as school leaders find ways of keeping in touch with our stakeholders? For example, these SMS bundles are very cheap. Can we agree as school leaders, and maybe every 2 weeks you send a message to just say hello to your parents and your learners who are at home, and give them maybe just one small message of what you want them to work with for the next 2 weeks? Can we find time to call in on the local radios and just say hello to all your parents and learners who are at home and encourage them to continue with learning? Because as a sector, we are implementing what we are calling continuity of learning. And Alfred talked about it, I don't want to repeat. But what is your contribution as a head teacher in that continuity of learning? Have you taken interest? Are you mobilizing your teachers to be able to participate, whether on radio or whatever? Can we get back to our local governments and find out whether we can give a message in the free airtime that is given to government? So I would like us to look beyond the lockdown and see how we can improve our wellness by trying to bless others, especially the learners and the stakeholders we work with. Shingi and the team, thank you very much for this great opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kenrest. And as we round up, just to acknowledge Dabuliwayo Abasa, who has said he's trying to keep in touch with his stakeholders and the parents, even though it is quite challenging in this time. Well done. Keep it up. And I think we want to keep head teachers connected to each other so that they are able to share best practice. Please do look forward to more of these live discussions that we will be bringing to you. We've got a number of other areas that we mentioned earlier that would like to discuss. Bring in your contributions. We are going to look at continuous professional development, motivating teachers, managing change, which is very critical in this season. So head teachers, we see you, we recognize you, we know the task that is ahead of you, and would like to continue to support you through these discussions so that as a community of practice, you share best practices, encouragement, methodologies, and so forth. So any last word from you, Mr. Abi Mumbiru and Alfred, before we close our discussion?
Yes, Shingi, thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Alfred. And thank you very much, our audience. In fact, it is very refreshing to read from colleagues. Shingi, the people who are giving those comments are people who are personally known to us. And we are happy that we are touching base. And I know by the end of today, each and every one of us, our personal wellness is boosted. This is the beauty of continuing to be in touch. One last thing is that schools closed, but learning will never close. So we, the school leaders, should continue learning. We should encourage our teachers to continue learning. We should support our students, pupils, wherever they are, to continue learning, because this is what it is. And very fortunately, we are in the positions of leadership, and we should lead in that direction. Thank you very much for the opportunity. May God bless you all.
That's powerful. Schools are closed, but learning will never close. I'm going to keep that one. Alfred Okello, one last word.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Shingi. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, my colleague Abby, and the audience listening to this program. Mine is a very brief one. Like we've emphasized collaboration, continued collaboration among the school leaders. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the executive committee of our professional association. That is the Executive Committee of Association of Secondary School Head Teachers of Uganda, who have worked tirelessly to ensure that we continue communicating, we continue sharing through our WhatsApp platform. We are hoping that as we move on, we should be having other platforms, for example, the website of the association, which is already being worked on. I would like to apologize that this discussion should have been live streamed on it, but because of some technical issues, we were not able to do that. But we are hoping to put it right so that all the school leaders take advantage of it, and we not only collaborate via it, but also learn, as we have emphasized. Otherwise, thank you very much, Shingi, and thank you, my colleagues. Thank you, the audience, for the wonderful discussion we've had today. I wish all of you well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfred Okello, and that exhortation to keep connected to the professional networks that you have in Uganda that will help head teachers in this season. So I would encourage everyone to keep checking the British Council Uganda page for more information on trainings that you have mentioned and other digital resources. Dr. Kendris, one last word from you. Are you able to? You're on mute, ma'am. I'm not sure if Dr. Kendris can hear us. If you can hear us, one last word from you, Doctor.
She seems to be on mute.
Doctor, you're on mute. I think it's a connectivity issue. As you can see, she's traveling, but we really want to thank her this morning. This discussion was extremely important for her. So she has made sure that she remains connected with us throughout the discussion, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who has joined this morning. Thank you for your comments and your contributions. Keep them coming. Do connect with your with the Uganda British Council office for more information on the offers that we have to support you head teachers in this season and beyond. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you, Shingi. Thank you very much, Shingi, and bye-bye.